Lately, Ford's trucks and SUVs have been hitting some pretty jaw-dropping price tags. For instance, their Super Duty trucks are going for around $140,000, and those smaller SUVs, they're creeping up close to $60,000. Even the so-called cheapest Ford trucks out there will set you back somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000. This is exactly why nobody is buying from Ford. Drive past any dealership and you'll see rows and rows of unsold 2024 models just sitting there, collecting dust. And so, Ford has decided to shake things up in a big way. They're slashing their MSRP by a significant amount, and let me tell you, the auto industry is buzzing about it. Now, what does this all mean for Ford? How is this going to impact their competitors, who've probably been enjoying Ford's high prices making them look good? And most importantly, what's in it for you? Stick around because we're breaking it all down and taking a closer look at what this could mean for everyone. If you walk into a Ford dealership these days, you'll see a sea of F-150s, Broncos, and Rangers just sitting there, collecting dust. These were once the superstar rides that everyone wanted. Back in the day, people couldn't buy them fast enough, but now, they're piling up so quickly that dealers are scrambling to find places to park them. They're even resorting to stashing trucks on grassy fields because the main lot looks like rush hour traffic on a Friday evening. Today, there are way more shiny new 2023 models on sale than the newer 2025s. It's not just a little imbalance, it's a full-blown mismatch that you don't see anywhere else in the truck market. As of November 2024, there are over 5,000 new 2023 Ford trucks parked on dealer lots across the country. 5,000. At first, you might think, hey, that doesn't sound like too much, but then you realize that's about 2.5% of all the new Ford trucks out there right now. And for this late in the year, when everyone's supposed to be driving the latest and greatest, that's kind of shocking. Now here's where things get even weirder. Ford's 2025 models are basically playing hide and seek, and they're winning. Out of more than 200,000 new Ford trucks available across the United States, fewer than 1,000 are 2025s. Let that sink in for a second, less than 0.5%. So while other dealerships are rolling out their newest models like proud parents showing off baby pictures, Ford's 2025s are nowhere to be found. Let's compare this to the competition. Chevrolet, they're absolutely crushing it. More than half of Chevy's truck inventory is already the new 2025 models, and their 2023s are almost gone. Seriously, finding one is like spotting Bigfoot. And then there's Ram. They're not exactly hitting a home run, but they're doing better than Ford. About 2% of Ram's current inventory is still 2023 models, roughly 2,100 trucks. Sure, they've got some catching up to do, but compared to Ford's numbers, they're at least on the right track. Because of this, Ford has announced something really massive. Ford has decided to slash some pretty big chunks off the MSRP. Walk into a Ford dealership today and you'll almost definitely see some jaw-dropping discounts. We're talking at least 10% off the manufacturer's suggested retail price, and that's just the starting point. On top of that, you might score some serious savings on add-ons and upgrades. Things like premium sound systems, leather interiors, or that sweet off-road package you've been eyeing. They're willing to deal because they've got to make room for the 2024s rolling in. And let me tell you, those 2023s aren't selling themselves. The issue is inventory. Ford's lots are packed tighter than a Black Friday line at your favorite store. It's not just crowded, it's overcrowded. Imagine rows of trucks stacked on top of each other. Well, not literally, but you get the idea. They're seeing what we're seeing, an economy where people are holding back on big purchases, waiting for better deals, or just trying to save money. Ford knows they've got to act fast, or those vehicles will just collect dust, depreciating by the day. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Ford isn't the only one in this boat. General Motors seems to have done a pretty solid job managing their inventory, so you're not seeing the same level of desperation over there. They've been playing it cool, keeping their lots manageable. But over at Ram, oh boy, they're in a similar situation to Ford. Their dealerships are dealing with a major overflow too, and they're not just sitting back and watching. In fact, Ram's parent company, Stellantis, has had some major shakeups recently. There's been a big change in leadership, and with that comes a whole new strategy. Word on the street is that Stellantis is planning something huge. Price cuts as steep as 30 to 35% across the board. That's a massive discount, the kind you'd usually only see during end-of-year clearance sales. And while nothing's been officially confirmed yet, it's not just a rumor. When leadership changes, big changes in direction tend to follow, and all signs point to them wanting to get aggressive on pricing. Why the drastic move? It's simple. They need to move those vehicles. Stellantis isn't about to let Jeep Wranglers, Dodge Rams, and other models sit idle on lots. They're playing the long game here, and lowering prices is a clear signal that they're ready to compete. This kind of pricing strategy isn't just about clearing out inventory, it's about grabbing market share and keeping customers loyal during uncertain times. Automakers like Ram seem to have hit a point where they're starting to rethink their entire strategy. For a while now, it feels like they've been pushing their prices higher and higher, trying to position themselves as more of a luxury brand. And honestly, it's been a bold move, but it's also kind of backfired in a big way. Their dealerships are struggling, the company itself is hurting, and they've lost a huge chunk of their market share over the past year. It's like they're finally waking up to the reality that some of those big decisions weren't exactly home runs. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If Ram decides to take a big swing and drop prices across the board, like we're hearing rumors of a 30% cut, what's that going to do to the rest of the market? Think about Ford. You've got dealerships full of F-150s stacked up like pancakes on a Saturday morning. These trucks are priced in the $60,000 to $70,000 range for standard XLT models, and they're just sitting there gathering dust. If Ram swoops in and says, hey, we're gonna knock 20 grand off our trucks, suddenly those $60,000 to $70,000 Ram 1500s are down in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. If Ram trucks are going for $45,000, how is Ford supposed to compete? They can't just sit there with rows of pricey F-150s and hope for the best. People are gonna look at those Ram deals and start asking themselves why they'd spend an extra $20,000 on a similar truck. Ford would have no choice but to follow suit and start cutting their prices too. This is why the next few months are going to be so fascinating. If Ram pulls the trigger on this pricing strategy, it's going to shake up the entire market. Ford, GM, and even Toyota will have to make some tough decisions. Lowering prices might hurt their bottom line in the short term, but what other option would they have? If Ram sets the new standard, everyone else is going to have to adjust just to keep up. But it's not just about the immediate price cuts. There's a bigger picture here. Automakers have been riding this wave of higher pricing for years, especially for trucks and SUVs. For a while it worked. People wanted those features, those add-ons, those luxury level trims, but now, with the economy being what it is, folks are tightening their wallets. The days of casually dropping $70,000 on a truck might be behind us, for now at least. This isn't just a Ram problem or a Ford problem, it's an industry-wide wake-up call. If Ram is brave enough to admit, hey, we messed up and we need to get back to what our customers actually want, that's a huge deal. It's a moment of reckoning for the industry, and if they start pricing their trucks in that $40,000 to $50,000 sweet spot, it could force every other automaker to take a hard look at their pricing strategies. I mean, picture this. Ford sees Ram slashing prices, so they start doing the same. Suddenly, those F-150s aren't $60,000 anymore. They're closer to $45,000. And what about GM? They've managed their inventory pretty well so far, but if their competitors start pricing aggressively, will they be able to hold the line, or will they join the price-cutting frenzy? Ford has already started offering some decent discounts on some of its vehicles. Right now, dealers are going all out with some jaw-dropping discounts to move inventory. Like, we're talking up to $11,000 off in some cases. That's huge, right? It takes a beast like the Ford Expedition, which typically feels more like a luxury SUV these days, down to around $74,000. But let's be real, 74 grand is still a hefty chunk of change. Most folks out there probably think an Expedition should land somewhere in the mid-$60,000 range, not inching towards $75,000. And it's not just the Expeditions that are sitting around waiting for a new home. The F-150, Ford's iconic workhorse, is also in the same boat, or rather, on the same lot. This truck is Ford's pride and joy, the one that's been carrying their sales numbers for decades. But even the mighty F-150 isn't immune to the current market slowdown. Lots are packed with them, and dealers are scrambling to clear space. To make that happen, they're throwing out some pretty enticing offers, up to $10,000 off certain trim levels. And here's the kicker. For the first time in what feels like ages, you can find some F-150 models dipping under that magical $50,000 mark. That's a big deal, especially for buyers who've been waiting for the right moment to jump in. You can now walk into a dealership and see a shiny F-150 sitting there with a sticker price that's actually south of 50 grand. For a lot of people, that's gonna feel like a green light. Finally, a truck that fits somewhere close to their budget. It's not mid-$60,000 territory like those Expeditions might might dream of, but it's at least heading in the right direction. However, even with these huge price cuts, there's still a big group of people out there who think trucks are just too expensive. They're saying, yeah, sure, take off 30%, but that's still way out of reach for most folks. And honestly, they've got a point. A lot of people are looking at these trucks and thinking, when are we going to see prices drop to $30,000? For a lot of buyers, that's the magic number, the sweet spot where they'd finally feel comfortable walking into a dealership. But here's the thing, is that even realistic? Can truck prices really dip that low? If we're being honest, it's pretty hard to imagine. The economy is all over the place right now, and the cost of production isn't exactly doing us any favors. Between the rising prices of raw materials, labor costs, and all the high-tech features crammed into modern trucks, getting to that $30,000 mark feels like a pipe dream. Think about it, today's trucks aren't just workhorses anymore. They're loaded with stuff that was once considered luxury. Heated seats, touchscreen infotainment systems, advanced safety tech, off-road packages. It's like these trucks are trying to double as luxury SUVs. All of that adds to the cost. So unless automakers are willing to strip these trucks down to their bare bones, we're probably not going to see those old school prices anytime soon. And let's not forget about the supply chain issues and inflation. Those aren't just buzzwords, they're real problems that manufacturers are dealing with. Steel costs more, electronics cost more, heck, even shipping costs more. All of that gets baked into the final price tag, and no amount of price cuts is going to change the fact that building a truck isn't cheap. Now, could automakers go back to basics and focus on raw power and durability instead of all the bells and whistles? Sure, they could. Remember the good old days when trucks were just tough machines built to get the job done? No frills, no fuss, just reliable power. If manufacturers decided to bring back that style, they might be able to get prices closer to what people are hoping for. But would buyers actually go for it? That's the million-dollar question. We've gotten so used to the convenience and comfort of modern trucks that it's hard to say if people would be willing to trade all of that for a lower price tag. It's a bit of a catch-22. We want affordable trucks, but we also want them to be feature-packed and comfortable enough to double as family vehicles. So will we see trucks hit the $30,000 mark again? Probably not unless something big changes, like a shift in consumer expectations or some groundbreaking innovation that slashes production costs. For now though, it's looking like those dream prices are going to stay just that, a dream. Still, it's worth keeping an eye on what happens. The truck market is clearly in flux, and who knows, maybe a company will surprise us by finding a way to deliver solid, no-nonsense trucks at a price point that makes sense for everyone. Until then though, it's probably best to keep your expectations in check. All we know for now is that Ford needs to do all it can to drive sales and win back the public. The company desperately need a win, especially because Ford's dive into the electric vehicle market hasn't exactly been a smooth ride. It's more like a roller coaster, and right now, it's stuck in the downhill plunge. Let's talk numbers. In the third quarter of 2024 alone, Ford's EV division, aptly named Model E, reported a staggering $1.2 billion loss. And here's where it gets even more jaw-dropping. If you tally up the losses for the first 9 months of the year, the total hits $3.7 billion. Now hold on to your charging cables because this part stings. Ford sold around 32,000 EVs during that period. Quick math shows that's a loss of about $37,500 per car sold. But this isn't just Ford tripping over its EV plans. It's a challenge that's rippling across the entire auto industry. Ford's CEO Jim Farley isn't one to beat around the bush. He called it like he sees it, describing the situation as a global price war for EVs, and it's heating up faster than a Tesla doing a 0 to 60 run. The core issue? There are way too many EVs being produced, but not enough people ready or willing to buy them. Here's where it gets trickier. The market is being flooded with a dizzying array of new EV models. From compact crossovers to futuristic sedans, automakers are throwing everything they've got into the mix. The result? A hyper-competitive pricing environment where companies are slashing sticker prices just to keep up. Sounds great for buyers, right? Well, it is. Kind of. But for manufacturers, it's a profit apocalypse. And Ford isn't alone in this battle. Take Stellantis, for example, the giant umbrella that covers brands like Jeep, Ram, and Dodge. They're facing similar headaches with overproduction. Lots are overflowing with unsold vehicles, forcing automakers to cut prices even further. It's like a domino effect. One brand slashes prices, and the rest have to follow suit or risk losing customers. Let's chat about the F-150 Lightning, Ford's electric version of the iconic F-150 pickup truck. When it was first announced, it seemed like a no no-brainer, right? Take the best-selling truck in America, make it electric, and boom, Ford is riding the EV wave straight into the future. But well, things haven't gone exactly as planned. Honestly, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, and a lot of the issues seem to come back to one big thing: the price. So Ford slapped a price tag of almost $90,000 on this bad boy. And let's be real, that's a whole lot of money for a truck, even if it's electric and loaded with cool tech. Sure, the F-150 Lightning comes with all kinds of fancy features. Things like a high-tech dashboard, fast charging, and a solid electric range. But for many folks, it's just too pricey, and the demand for the truck hasn't exactly been through the roof. In fact, the sales have been lower than Ford expected, which led to a big decision. They've had to stop production until next year to regroup. Now, even though it was the top-selling electric truck in 2023, beating out competitors like the Rivian R1T and Hummer EV, it's still not hitting those sky-high sales targets Ford had set for it. And that's where things get a little tricky. Ford's response? Big changes at its Rouge Electric Vehicle Center in Dearborn, Michigan, which is where they make the F-150 Lightning. Here's the situation. Out of the 2,100 workers at the Rouge Center, 1,400 are either being reassigned to other projects or offered retirement packages. Specifically, 700 employees are getting reassigned to work on other vehicles, like the Bronco SUV and the Ranger pickup at the Michigan Assembly Plant in Wayne. The remaining 700 have a choice. Either they can transfer to other Ford facilities around Michigan, or they can take a retirement package worth $50,000. It's important to note that these are not layoffs, though. Ford has made it clear that the retirement option is completely voluntary, and it's not about cutting jobs. So this whole situation with the F-150 Lightning really seems to point to the fact that Ford might have overestimated demand. It looks like they expected a much bigger reception for the electric F-150, but instead, the market isn't quite as ready for it as they thought. Dealerships are stuck with more Lightnings than they can sell, and that's causing some serious headaches. It's like Ford built a ton of these trucks, expecting a rush of eager buyers, but instead they've ended up with more inventory than they know what to do with. And here's the thing, this isn't just a Ford problem. The whole electric vehicle EV market is kind of in the growing pain stage. EV adoption is on the rise, but there are still some major roadblocks. High prices are a huge one, and limited charging stations are another, especially in rural areas where people are hesitant to switch from gas guzzlers to electric. Plus, there's still some hesitation among consumers who are just not sure if EVs are worth the investment yet. Ford might have been banking on a smoother transition, but the market isn't quite there yet. As the trucks pile up on dealer lots, things are getting awkward. The dealers themselves are saying no thanks and turning down new shipments because they just can't sell the ones they already have. You know things are bad when the people who are supposed to be selling the trucks are saying they can't even get rid of the ones they've already got. And when production halts, it's not just the trucks that are put on pause, it's the jobs too. The hourly workers who assemble these trucks are left in a tough spot, caught in the middle of a gamble Ford made on a product that didn't quite land with customers, at least not at that $90,000 price point. Now, don't get me wrong, the price isn't the only problem, but it's a huge factor. EVs are becoming more popular, but consumers are still looking for that sweet spot between affordability and practicality. For $90,000, people want something more than just a greener version of a traditional work truck. They want the whole luxury experience. And that's where Ford faces some real competition from companies like Tesla and Rivian, who are offering electric vehicles that feel more cutting edge and, let's be honest, a little cooler than the F-150 Lightning. It's hard to compete when your rivals are constantly raising the bar on innovation. And as if things couldn't get worse for Ford, the company's become pretty familiar with recalls lately. It's almost like a rite of passage for F-150 owners now. You get your shiny new truck, drive it around for a bit, and then, surprise! You get a letter from Ford saying they need to fix something. It's almost like clockwork. The F-150 has had its share of recalls over the years, ranging from small issues to, well, much bigger ones. One of the most notable problems was with the truck's transmission. There was this major recall involving the 10-speed automatic transmission, which would unexpectedly shift into first gear while the truck was cruising down the highway. Imagine driving at full speed, only for your truck to suddenly slam into first gear like it was just starting out. That's a serious safety issue, and it left many owners frustrated. Ford's had to deal with these kinds of issues more than once, and it doesn't exactly help build trust among potential buyers. Besides the major recalls already mentioned, there's been another one that's raised some serious eyebrows: seatbelt fires. Yep, you heard that right. Some of these trucks have had issues with the seatbelt pretensioners, which are those little devices designed to tighten the seatbelt during a crash to keep you secure. Well, in certain models, these devices can actually spark during deployment, and in rare cases, those sparks have been known to start fires. That's definitely not something you want to deal with when you're just trying to drive around in your brand new truck. But the seatbelt issues are just the tip of the iceberg. Electrical problems have also been a huge pain for Ford. One notable recall involved wiring issues in the F-150 Lightning, where faulty wiring could lead to a loss of power, or even worse, cause the truck to stall while driving. Imagine that, driving down a busy highway, and suddenly your truck just shuts off on you. Not exactly something you want to experience while you're cruising at highway speeds. And if that wasn't enough, some F-150s have had problems with their brake master cylinders. The issue here is that the master cylinder could fail, leading to a loss of brake fluid. That means less braking power, which is a major problem, especially when you're trying to stop a big, heavy truck. It's a safety hazard no one wants to think about, but it's been a recurring issue for the F-150. Then, of course, there are the airbags. Faulty airbags have been another issue for Ford. Whether they fail to deploy when they're supposed to, or even worse, deploy when they're not needed, both situations are equally dangerous and completely counter to what airbags are supposed to do in the first place: keep you safe. With all these issues, it makes sense that Ford is looking to win over the public by offering significant discounts on some of its vehicles, and this strategy might just work? So, what do you think? Will Ford's strategy work? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest videos. While you're still here, click the video on your screen to see more interesting content like this one.